Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Quick trigger warning before we do get into today's first story. There is a trigger warning on it of self-harm, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. And this is also one that you may have seen in other places, but has a new update to it. Again, timestamps are there. This is from Any Reality 580 and says, "Am I the arsehole for refusing to sing at my brother's wedding? My 28 male, brother 33 male, will be getting married in the fall. The two of us are fairly close, more so in the past few years, which is to say that he is not ignorant about past events in my life. Recently, I got invited to dinner by him and his fiancée. The two were very obviously buttering me up to ask something the whole time before my brother finally told me. So, fiancée and I have been talking, and would really love it if you sang our first dance song. Just the one song. I know you don't really sing anymore, but I dug up some old videos of you singing and she loves your voice just as much as I do. This could be your wedding present to us. For background, I used to sing all the time. I formed a band with a bunch of my friends in high school and we were very mildly successful. We had a YouTube channel with a few hundred subscribers and there were a handful of people that had their own recordings that were posted to their own pages. In this band was my best friend since 2nd grade, Mason, not real name. Unfortunately, when we were 17, Mason took his own life. Additionally, I was the one who found him. The band dissolved almost immediately, and our YouTube channel and all our own videos were taken down. Since then, I have never sang. Singing without Mason felt wrong, so I didn't. Not in the shower, no karaoke sessions, not at church, never. My brother knew all of this, but I wasn't sure if his fiancée did. So I started off with, "Sorry, I'll have to refuse. You know I don't sing anymore," in the interest of totally not ruining dinner. My brother was annoyed as hell at this. "Come on, it's for my wedding, it's just one song. I'm not asking for much here," and so forth. I continued to politely refuse and left soon after. Shortly after, I started receiving countless calls from my mum, who also knows the reason why, and decided to harass me about not singing. "It's your brother's wedding. I think you really should see a therapist about this. We all love your singing voice and it's been 10 years since any of us got to hear it." The two of us have since decided on a new tactic by saying that my song will be a good way to honor Mason's memory. The point about therapy aside, I've been to lots of it. I'm at peace with my decision to stop singing. Am I the arsehole for refusing? It's clearly important to them. Edit, to clarify, I've really only ever performed with Mason. The joy I got from performing was not the act of singing itself, but from performing with my best friend. Big says to this one, "It's your voice and your choice. Your brother, mother, and more likely your brother's fiancé know why you no longer sing. Just because it's a wedding doesn't mean you must revisit your trauma. Not the arsehole." Wintonin says, "Not the arsehole. Your mom and brother should see a therapist. As usual, wedding planning turns some people into monsters." OP also left a comment below this saying, "Okay y'all, this is overwhelming. Let me throw a few things in one. One, I don't know if my future sister-in-law is aware of the full situation or not. I'd like to think she doesn't, but I'd rather not poke that hornet's nest until I have to. Two, yes, I have been to therapy. Singing is something I did with Mason, well before we started a full band. It very much feels like a part of my life that belongs in the past. As I said in the edit, my joy is not from singing, it's from performing with him. Three, is that what Mason would have wanted? Says, I don't know. He's not around to ask anymore. 4, the extended family is not blowing up my phone. It's 2 people and it's not blowing it up. My mum called repeatedly in one day and has tried to throw it in a few times since. My brother has mostly given me the cold shoulder. It's only been a few weeks since this conversation took place. 5, to whomever said it's been 10 years, you're not good enough to sing at a wedding. Thank you. I genuinely laughed at this. It's a good point too. I probably sound like a donkey kicked me in the throat. 6, no, I don't post a lot. This is a throwaway I barely use. Sharhawk says, if they were trying to encourage you for altruistic reasons, then I might have more sympathy for them. But they just want you to sing at their wedding for their own selfish satisfaction. How sad that they won't take the first no as your answer. By hounding you to do it, they're showing you that your feelings and trauma mean little to them. I'd refuse to talk to them about it anymore and walk away if they continue. You deserve better. Snoo replies to that saying, and honestly, what a bad effing idea. Say OP finally gave in and agreed to sing. It's their first dance song, so I'm guessing it won't be the Macarena. It'd be a slow love ballad. I don't see OP getting through the song. There will be the missed notes as he tries to fight off tears, followed by full-blown crying with snot bubbles. Doesn't sound romantic. The wedding guests will surround OP to see if he's okay, especially the ones that don't know the backstory. The bride would come here after crying about brother-in-law ruining her wedding and taking all the attention off her. Not the arsehole. So OP comes in with her first update and says, okay, I don't know if I have to do anything special to update people that commented update me on the last post, but here we are. This is premature, but since the post I made was more popular than I expected, or wanted, I thought I'd give a small update. Future sister-in-law reached out to me because her washer broke and she wanted to come over and do a quick load of laundry. I wasn't thrilled about this, but I live close enough. I have an in-unit and the laundromats in our area are not the safest. I was content to just watch TV silently in my tiny apartment while we waited, but she of course had something to discuss. I thought for sure she'd be the third person to try and convince me, but no. Instead, she told me that she wasn't sure if my brother was giving her the full story. She told me that he used to sing all the time. He was in the band, but he quit when the band broke up, which is technically true, but come on. I also learned that he had told many of his friends this too, about how he's always trying to convince me to come around and sing for all of them. He had literally never asked before the conversation, but was prone to making comments like, boy, it sure sucks you don't sing anymore. And there were a lot of people that would want to hear that. So I very briefly told her about Mason. Just the important bits, that I used to sing with him, then he died, so I didn't have any desire to do so anymore. She didn't say anything for a while, but I saw her face go through a dozen different emotions, and I'm pretty sure she settled on anger. Before she left, she told me that she's going to tell my brother to get someone else to sing. I got the distinct feeling that it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. So, that's it so far. All quiet, fingers crossed. Then OP came in with her next update which says, I cannot believe this is still a thing, much less one that people are interested in. Lucky me though, because the overwhelming support I received here convinced me to do some things I definitely wouldn't have done otherwise. New things happened pretty quickly, but I held off on a new post because my last one was premature. Some things people predicted happened, other things did not. Let's get this out of the way up front. The wedding is still on. The wedding will always still be on. This was never in doubt. I think a lot of commenters vastly overestimated my importance. After talking with future sister-in-law, I did not hear anything from my brother, at least initially. I did eventually get a short text from her just saying that I shouldn't worry about the wedding anymore and they'll find someone else. My mum was another story. She called me repeatedly since I ignored her first few calls, and when I finally picked up, she was about 2 steps below screaming into the phone about how I interfered in your brother's relationship and made things go so much harder for them. And do you know how upset he is right now? It's time to put grudges aside and make amends. It was not an especially long conversation. I feel it is important to provide some context from my mum. I've seen comments about she has clear favoritism for my brother. Strictly speaking, I'm not sure if that's true. Over the years, she said or did things to my brother that has, at several points, caused him to go no contact with her. Some of these I fully understood, others created some questions. As a result, my mum tends to overcompensate when it comes to him, because I think she's terrified of getting cut off again. I did a lot of self-reflection over the next few days about my relationship with family members, and decided it was time to have a very honest conversation with my brother. I even booked a bonus therapy session specifically about preparing myself for this conversation. I called him up and asked him point blank if, knowing I will absolutely not be singing for them, he wanted me to attend. He didn't answer for a bit, but eventually he said yes. I remembered a bunch of comments that said he may still try and pull something at the reception anyway using public pressure and announce me as the singer. But I personally didn't find that to be especially likely. My brother is a big planner and scheduler. I realized I no longer trusted him like I used to, and said as much, and that I will only be attending the ceremony, not the reception. He had a minor freak out over this. You fucking kidding me? But then said it was whatever. and that I needed to come up with concrete excuse for my absence so that bullshit doesn't overshadow everything. Fine, whatever. And that I could no longer be his groomsman since that would leave an empty chair at the head table. We hung up shortly after. We have not spoken again since. Something that hasn't come up before. We both have two brothers, 35, 26. Neither live in the same area as us. My younger brother lives on the other side of the country, and we don't talk especially frequently. So I don't know what, if anything, they had heard about the situation previously. Well, because he kicked one of his brothers out of the wedding party, he decided to replace the other two as well because it wouldn't look right to just have 2 out of 3 of his brothers as groomsmen. So instead opted for 0 out of 3. Eldest brother got kind of bratty about it. Included all 3 of his brothers in the wedding party when he got married and is mainly pissed about the non-reciprocation, but never asked for nor received the full story on our feud. I don't especially enjoy talking to him, so if he wants to blame me for getting booted from the wedding party, that's fine. My younger brother, on the other hand, made it his personal mission to extract every single detail possible from all parties. He called me up to get my side and then decided he was going to join me in skipping the reception. He's decided to start brainstorming an excuse for the both of us. Honestly, I think he was looking for an excuse not to go anyway. He despises family functions. At this point, I'm praying for no more updates. This is just fucking absurd. The wedding cannot come soon enough. This is not related to the update, but instead to the comments and DMs I received. I've tried my best to be civil with the many comments of, "Is that what Mason would want?" or "Have you tried therapy?" We are now 3 posts deep on this nonsense. I'm not going to be trying so hard at civility anymore. Also, a reminder, singing it was a hobby. I gave up a hobby. I was not on the cusp of making it big. I did not throw away my dreams. This is 5 dudes screwing around in a basement on weekends and occasionally playing at a bar, fair, or a coffee shop. For what it's worth, I still listen to music and even will pick up my bass again on occasion when I'm bored. Therapy is not an undo button on grief and trauma. I am not the same person I was before he died, and I will never be again. Therapy is about accepting this and the new person I've become, not going back to the way things were. New OP model does not include singing. Fire or water, Kai says to OP on the back of this one. OP, your mum and brother suck so much that black holes appear when they're in the same room. This whole thing went way beyond singing. It's not that hard to respect someone's wishes. As a side note, since they want you to burn everything down, I wouldn't come up with a valid excuse. Just tell the truth. Your mum and brother are insufferable arseholes who want you to lie about why you're not there, because they can't accept that you don't want to sing. They're going to rip you to shreds anyways, so let them wash their bullshit down with the truth. Tell that one blabbermouth in the family that you have come up with a good excuse to not go to the ceremony. Tell everyone how your mum behaved with you, which has shit to do with the wedding. Honestly, they only want you there so people don't talk, and not as a valued family member. I wouldn't go at all, and let them know way ahead of time. They chose this. So it was around 7 months later that OP has come in with their final update and says, "Hey y'all, you for sure don't remember me, but I thought I'd come back for a final update. It's me, the guy who quit singing because my former best friend / bandmate killed himself. Quick refresher right at the top. Yes, I've attended therapy. Yes, I have processed Mason's death. No, therapy does not fix grief and instead makes it more manageable. I quit singing because I stopped finding it enjoyable. No, I'm not in denial. No, I wasn't in love with Mason. Anyway, spoiler warning, it's mostly boring, and yes, the wedding still happened. The last couple of months have featured something of relentless guilt trip from my mum. She was getting increasingly unpleasant, so I eventually just stopped responding to her entirely. I didn't block her because she's still my mum, and I love her, and I would like to know if there was a genuine emergency. But other than that, she's getting radio silence from both me and my younger brother. More on him later. She had originally started with the argument about how I could honor Mason, then about how I hadn't finished processing my grief, before doubling down on how disappointed she was that I refused to move on, before she told me how pathetic it was to live eternally in my victimhood. Guess she got herself a Tumblr account or something. The eldest brother tried his best to stay out of everything, but my mum did try to get him on her side. Like I said before, he and I don't have a good relationship, so she probably thought it was a slam dunk. Not so much. My brother, to his credit, told her this whole thing is stupid. I do not disagree. My youngest brother made good on his promise and skipped the reception with me. He used the excuse that he had to leave immediately to catch a flight back for his job. He's a first responder, so nobody questioned it. Little brother also really wanted my excuse to be that I had started a new band and had to miss the reception to go sing at my first gig, because he is chaos incarnate and is to be feared. Instead, I said that I had a routine surgery early the next morning and therefore had to skip all food, drinks, and physical activity. I have a reputation for poor health, so again, nobody really questioned it. As for the brother getting married, he kept quiet for the most part. We didn't talk much. I don't know for sure if our mum was communicating for the both of them so that he could avoid being seen as the bad guy, or because his now wife kept him in line. Either way, I don't see a way back to restoring our relationship to what it once was. I'm not cutting off contact with him by any means, but we're now on much lesser terms. One hiccup. Somehow, I wonder, my brother got an inkling that this whole thing was actually an elaborate ruse, and that I was singing at his reception as a surprise. Our whole flight, it was to throw him off the scent, and that I was actually taking singing lessons the whole time. Presumably, Mason's ghost would descend from wherever and join me in the harmonies or something. Then the living and the dead would come together for the cha-cha slide. Apparently, my brother subscribes to fan fiction. All info about the reception was supplied by my dad a few days afterwards. He was apparently super mopey throughout the beginning of the reception, but ended up enjoying himself by the end. Probably has to do with the fact that he's now married to a terrific woman who has been willingly putting up with him for 3 years. She looks stunning, by the way. Overall, there are a few murmurs about mine and my brother's absence at the reception, but from what I heard, they dispelled quickly, and everyone rightfully focused on the newly married couple. So, that's it. I still attend regular therapy because it's become part of my routine. Mason rarely ever came up before all this. And I'm presuming that status quo will soon be returned. It's not that I don't miss him, but I have lots of other stuff going on in my life, you know. I'm contemplating moving across the country to be closer to my younger brother. As chaotic and unpredictable as he can be, he was definitely my rock through all of this, and I'd like to improve my relationship with him, one small dose at a time. My job and therapist are both remote, and that simplifies things. It wouldn't be until next year when my lease is up, but it is under serious consideration. I'm probably abandoning this account soon after this update. The story made its way to the TikToks and the Facebook spam posts and the AI YouTube channels, so it's toast anyway. My username was left in, and it made it super easy to find. 4 different people messaged me to join Mason. Fucking, what is wrong with some people, Matt, honestly? Which is the first time a stranger on the internet has ever told me to kill myself. Feels like a rite of passage. Anyway, thank you to the roughly 75% of you for your kind words and resisting the urge to ask, is that what Mason would have wanted, or have you considered therapy? Sorry for wasting your time with this, when I'm sure you were hoping for explosive fireworks and instead got a lone firecracker tossed into a bird bath. Juices. Jasper Jamboree says to the OP, so your mum was the puppet master in this whole thing. I know she's your mum, but I would keep up on your promise of radio silence unless there was a legitimate emergency. Also, your younger brother rocks, and EMT is the perfect job for a chaos king. Foxy says, quick request, can the people who think OP should join Mason please identify themselves? Not to us on Reddit, to their own friends and family. Personally, I don't care to know such people to engage with them, but anyone unlucky enough to know them should probably have it flagged. Absolutely, you know, I was going to say I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked at some of the stuff that I see on socials these days, and what people say to each other is absolutely fucking vile. You never know what someone's going through, and saying stuff like that to someone, and I'm not saying OP is, but saying it to anyone, maybe going through a rough time, you never knew the damage that they might do to that person. So it's, you know, as I said, I'm not shocked, but it's fucking disgusting. But good on OP for this. They know themselves and they know what's best for them, and they're absolutely standing by it. You know, I did get a little teary at one point when he said he was going to go and see his younger brother because he'd like to build a relationship with him. I thought that was just a really sweet thing. And it does sound like there'd be good support for one another as well, which I think is great, especially considering what's going on with the rest of the family at the moment. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. But our final story, we're going to go to the malicious compliance subreddit for a little of something different. This is from Pro Friend Zona, who says, supervisor told me sarcastically to call the fire department. I did. Worked in retail in between jobs way back when. Early 90s. Yeah, I'm old. Get off my lawn. It was December, major department store that is no longer around. I know that doesn't narrow it down. Sorry. Anyways, they tried to cram as much product on the floor as possible, to the point that you couldn't walk through the aisles and had to twist and turn to get past fixtures set up with product. I casually mentioned to a supervisor that if the fire department ever came in, they would close us down for hazards and lack of egress. She was highly stressed and blurted out to me, "You know what? Then call the fire department." I held my hands up and said, "Easy." She assigned me my duties and that was that. Well, she did tell me to call. On the way home, I stopped by a government building that had all sorts of agencies in it. Told the receptionist my plight and she pointed to a phone on the wall. Tell the operator I want the fire department and they would patch me through to the station's non-emergency line. The fire chief himself answered. I told him how crowded it was and what the supervisor said. He had a good laugh and said they'd check it out. I was off the next day but heard about it when I got back. Fire chief and a station house full of firefighters show up to do an inspection. He tells the store manager that egress is being blocked and he had to remove a lot of the fixtures in the aisles. Store manager says he has orders from corporate. Fixtures stay. Fire chief assures him he will win the argument. Store manager stands his ground. Fire chief says, "Alright boys, close them down." They evacuated the store, all 3 levels, and closed all entrances in December, prime Christmas shopping season. Although it wasn't a weekend day, it was during the week, but still. Store manager tried to protest and suddenly the sheriff's department starts showing up. Long story short, they were closed for 5.5 hours while the chief, store manager and employees rearranged the store to acceptable levels. The supervisor never treated me differently, so I'm guessing she didn't remember the conversation. The store manager, surprisingly, did not get fired by corporate, but corporate was not happy. About a week later, I'm working with a store manager and supervisor when she asks why we can't do something a certain way. The store manager replied, "The fire department won't allow that." And that was it. I worked there a few more weeks before getting a job that almost got me killed in a workplace shooting. What? But that's a story for later. OP just dropping that and dipping, what the hell? I found it wild that the store manager still tried to argue with this fire chief in the middle, just saying, "No, corporate said everything needs to stay." It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, mate, come on now. But what about you guys? What do you guys make of this situation? Dearie me, some people, right? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me, truly. Thank you so, so much. And hopefully, I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.